For those who may not know you yet, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to create the Club Neptune?
My name is Chris Neptune. I lived in Edmonton for over a decade now. Originally, I came here from Toronto as a student athlete, but my story actually started even further back than that. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, actually more Tobago. Came from a small place called Plymouth, and you don't really meet many people from Tobago. Then I moved to Toronto at a younger age. Sports and movements have always been huge for me and a big part of like my family. Even as a kid, I was always fascinated about the human body, and it was always something that I wanted to study. I remember being around 10 years old and reading the encyclopedia about like biology and human movements and so on. One of my older brothers was a very good athlete, so I always looked up to him and kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. He played soccer. He played in the UK for a little bit as well. That curiosity about movements and performance really shaped who I became. As for opening the business, that was something I always wanted to do. And right now it's just, we're building something special in Edmonton. For the long term, I'd love to expand into Toronto and Trinidad. So that's more future stuff.
Take us back to 2007. What was happening in your life and how did that time influence the path you're on today?
It's a time that really sticks out in my mind. A lot of things were happening, specifically in the high school space. I was still in high school, graduating high school, and a lot of violence were happening in schools and so on. One particular time, Jordan Manners was the kid's name. He ended up getting shot. And that was huge for the city because it was the first time someone had gotten shot in the school. The Toronto District School Board, they started a program called Focus on Youth to kids in, neighborhoods that don't really have those opportunities. A lot of people applied, but only so many got selected. I was one of the few that got a placement. Somewhere downtown Toronto, we did about 2 weeks of training. And I remember one of the guys there through basketball, Augustin, he's also someone that's out there, and we're going over lots of different topics. And one of the guys, he was kind of expressing that how difficult it is if you have a record and those type of things, right? So kind of fast forward a bit, we ended up at a placement in the Jane and Finch area at a youth basketball camp. It was the very first one. It was called YACE. That organization still stands today. It's very big. YAAACE. We didn't really have much, right? So we're the very first one starting it off. But I say that time was very instrumental in my life because it taught me so much and met so many people came from that camp. You look at Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who's in the NBA right now. That kid, he was the one who really triggered something in me because in working with him and seeing his work ethic at like 10 years old, that was something that stood out to me. And I've always been on a search to find more kids like him when I did decide to end up working with kids and so on. I always knew he was going to do something special. I didn't know it was the NBA or whatever, but like I saw something in that kid, and everyone did because everyone loved working with him. His drive was just, it was different. And I remember I tried looking for him all throughout my life. I tried looking him up. I didn't know where he went. That was the last time I saw him was at that camp. And then the time after that was hearing his name get drafted into the NBA. It was an eye opener because it kind of solidified what I saw in him, that work ethic and what I have been searching for and still enjoying working with kids today who have that. That was something that I saw in him. There were other kids at that camp who were names that we know today, Pressa, his brother Bundog. There were a lot of guys who played Division I that came out of that camp. O'Shea Brissett, he was in the NBA, still is in the NBA, I believe. There are so many people. Another Toronto musician passed through, Augustin's brother, Frié. We had arts programs. It wasn't just about sports and basketball. There were a place for your creativity to kind of cultivate, right? So that was something that has meant so much to me, and it's something that I would love to start out here and kind of give back to the communities out here and build more of a community.
You've mentioned experiencing an injury that shifted your perspective. How did that moment change the way you approach wellness?
Yeah, well, I've had a few injuries, but a lot of my injuries, I've had injuries all throughout high school. I've torn my rotator cuff, tore ligaments, and so on. But it goes back to what I said about studying the human body and that meaning so much to me and being something, a big part of my life from such a young age. I've always felt like I can rehab whatever injuries it may be. And this was even before going to school and studying. This was just me teaching myself, right? Just kind of reading books, and we only got one human body. It doesn't change. So it doesn't matter if this person's a doctor or this person is a physician. Like, our bodies are our bodies, right? So the injury that really did change my life was I hyperextended my knee and damaged a nerve. So that's something that I have no control over. I can't rehab a nerve. No one really can. You can just cope with it and do treatments to make it feel better. But also at the time when that injury happened, I prayed about having time to sit back and reflect and figure out what I was doing, because I was losing myself, and my plan was not to be in Edmonton for as long as I've been. Around that time, I was asking for time. And I always had jumper's knees, patella tendonitis and stuff, but that wasn't enough to make me sit back and relax. I would still play sports. I would play my basketball. I'm always doing something. So I needed something to make me sit down where I can't move, which the nerve injury happened. The night I prayed about having time, the next day I injured myself, right? So, and even when I did injure myself and I'm sitting on the floor, I wasn't worried. I kind of was like, well, this is what I needed, right? I thought I broke my leg because I couldn't feel anything, but then it turned out to be a nerve injury, and I just didn't have any feeling or movement. So that was very scary. And on top of that, I tore my ACL, I tore my LCL, and I tore my hamstring all in that one. So I wanted to study the human body, and I'm getting all the injuries and all the opportunities to do it. So it changed my life, because not being able to move and actually being told I wasn't going to walk again, and the nerves not coming back, and me accepting this is my life now. It took a while to get to that point of acceptance, which during that process of being bitter and depressed and so on, when I finally said I'm going to get the brace, I went to my fitting to go get the brace, and I'm still bitter, but I'm still self-aware, and I'm paying attention to what's around me. And the guy who was doing the fitting, he's listening to me complain about the whole thing, but he works at a limb and brace place, so I know he's worked with a lot of severe, way more severe than me, right? So that's what I took from him, kind of smiling while I'm talking. So then when I asked him about like his path to working at a place like this, and then he said he played football, and at 17 he worked at his dad's company, and he had a work injury, a work accident, and he lost his fingers. So, and then I looked and I'm like, wow, this guy like lost his fingers, you know? So immediately like a shift happened. I started to be more grateful, because it was a 50% chance that my nerve could come back, but it's 100% chance that his fingers are gone, right? So it gave me something to be grateful and thankful about, and stop being bitter about what you don't have and appreciate what you do have. And, you know, so even 50%, I'll still move around. It's painful. I can't really walk properly, but I still had a chance. And in the span of 3 months after that moment, my nerve came back more than it did in over a year and a half. So I went over a year and a half without any movement, any feeling. And then in 3 months, like it really came back. So yeah, doctors were shocked. They're like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Physiotherapy, the treatment for a nerve injury, is just to get you to cope. Like there's not much you can do. Your brain is telling you move your foot and you're trying, but nothing's happening. So mentally it was very draining for me. But I started doing the things that I've always done my entire life. I've always trained. I've always been very disciplined. So I just kind of got back to being me, even though I'm compensating in that moment. But I started to be myself and like love myself again. And yeah, and I feel like that helped because your mindset is very important for any of those things. Like your mind is important. You can't, if you don't believe you can do something, you're not going to do it, right? Even though you might have the ability, if you don't believe it, how are you going to do it? So yeah, the mind is just as important as everything else in healing, in moving forward, in accomplishing whatever. So
Yeah, no, it's honorable that you were able to shift your mind
yeah,
to think that way
yeah,
instead.
all my injuries, and I've had a lot, and severe ones, but I've never once said like, why me, God, why, I've just never felt like there's a reason to ask why. It happened for a reason. It might suck in the moment, but it is an opportunity. I kind of appreciate setbacks.
You mentioned training camps before. What did that experience teach you about performing and discipline?
What those environments have taught me is simple but powerful. If you do something, you do your training, whatever it is, that task at hand, and you focus on the quality of it and you stay consistent at it, you're going to get better. And now you pair that in with someone who is just naturally gifted, but you're working on the quality of it. Like you're focusing on the quality, you're focusing on your weaknesses and not always playing to your strengths. Because I believe that the great ones, they play to their weaknesses. That's what happens in sports at a young age here with kids, is that parents put them in programs and they might be good at a young age, but it's because you're bigger than everyone and you're just dominating. But what's going to happen when we both mature and now you're not bigger than me, you're not stronger than me, but I'm more skilled than you, right? So you have to play to the weaknesses. It's not always about just winning a tournament, winning a game, winning whatever it may be. That's something that I really took to heart growing up, but I also look for that in kids. And that's something that I really was aware of with Nikhil Alexander Walker. When I paid attention to him, it's like, wasn't the biggest kid, wasn't the fastest kid, but he was the hardest worker. And whatever you gave him to do, he did it consistently over and over and over. And in the long run, that's what pays off. Because like you look at any professional, it's not the ones who go for 4 or 5 hours. You go for an hour, but in that hour, I'm going hard and I'm working on the quality. I'm not wasting my time. So I took that from the camp, and that's something I applied daily in life. But I also look for that. I look for that in people that I work with, in kids that I work with. And I like working with people with that type of drive. Like I give you something to do and you're gonna put your all into it. And we just gotta work on the quality and build repetition. So quality and consistency wins always.
Education seems to be a big part of your philosophy. What are some things about the body or health that you think people misunderstand the most?
Yeah, that's a good one. One of the biggest misconceptions is that skinny always means healthy. I wasn't the skinniest kid. I wasn't an in-shape kid. A lot of people haven't seen me in that state, but I grew up thinking I was fat. But that's what you hear. That being said, heavier automatically doesn't mean unhealthy as well, right? Health is much more complex than that. Your body composition matters. Understanding your muscle mass, your bone density, your fat distribution, it's extremely important, especially as we age. We want to know those things. So right now we're seeing a lot of focus on weight loss medication, like Ozempic. Those treatments can reduce your body weight, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all fat loss, right? And because what most people are aiming for is fat loss, but you're losing weight on a scale. So you're seeing the number go down, but you're also losing muscle mass. So you're taking your muscle mass, and you don't want to take that. You want to keep that. Sometimes people are also losing their bone density, and that's dangerous because it can lead to long-term health risks like osteoporosis. Weight loss is not the same thing as fat loss. So you need to understand the two, understand the difference, and preserving as much muscle mass and maintaining your strength is critical for your long-term health and longevity. Aesthetics, it comes if you do the right things, but you want to feel good. You want to move for as long as you can go. That's the goal for me. I want to keep going for as long as I can. As long as I'm on this earth, I want to be able to move and, do the things I want to do. The more things are coming out, of course, people are still going to use it. And then you just shrink yourself. You're the same version of you, just in a smaller form.
You use a 3D body scanner at the gym. How does technology like that help people better understand their bodies and progress?
Well, at the Club Neptune here, we use the Staiku 3D body scanner, one of our most valuable tools that we have. It gives people a deeper understanding of their bodies beyond what the scale tells you, right? The scanner, it measures hundreds of data points, including body fat percentage, lean mass, visceral fat, and it even produces a 3D model of your body, right? So you can compare, contrast, and then you can visually see. Because I have clients who their weight went up on the scale, but we look at their before and after in a month, and you can see where the shape is happening. Their stomach is getting smaller, hips are getting wider. The guys that I've worked with, you can see the posture changing. Shoulders are rolled forward with a head poke, and then we do a scan, and you can see the posture. You can see if the arches collapse. Just so much more than just aesthetics. It's important because the scale can sometimes mislead people. Someone's weight might stay the same or even increase, but their body composition or health can be improving drastically. The scanner allows us to focus on what really matters: body composition, reducing harmful fat levels, and building strength for long-term health. And that's something where it can help you to know if you're at early signs of diabetes and so on, right? With your visceral fat level. So these are things that we don't really track until we go to the doctor and until they tell us that we're pre-diabetic or something. It's important. It's important to know. It's important to track. It means a lot to me. We have it here, and the city has it here. It's one of 3 in Alberta. It's pretty exclusive. A standalone scan can cost you anywhere from $50 to $100. So with our memberships, we include it with them. So
your philosophy seems to focus less on just training and more on overall wellness. Why was that shift important to you?
It started with all my injuries and knowing that if I stop working out, I probably will be in pain every day. So it's something that I need to focus on, is just more longevity. But really and truly, that shift happened for me. Over the past few years, I've experienced some personal losses within my family and friends due to health issues, and losing people, what we would consider young. It forces you to think differently about what health truly means. Another influence is my mom. I often think about her and how movement is important and how she's always been self-sufficient and be able to move and do the things that she wants. Think about her and not being there to help her with her movements. I always think about how important it is to build an environment where people can take care of their bodies long term. Our movement is medicine. That's what keeps us going. They won't tell us that, but that's what it is. So if I stop training and taking care of my body, the pain gets worse. And that's what a lot of people deal with. And we say to ourselves, I can't do it because I'm hurting. But the fact that you're hurting is because you're not doing it. It's hard to get past that initial, but that's what we need. So today, the philosophy here at the Club Neptune is centered around longevity, help people move better, stay strong, and maintain active for decades. If you do things properly, the aesthetics, the results, it will come naturally.
What was the vision when you first opened the Club Neptune?
I have to go back a little bit. I had another spot that was more one-on-one personal training, semi-private, a smaller space that I opened during the pandemic called the Glute Lab. I started that because I wanted more of a smaller space, intimate space, coming out of the pandemic, a place where people could feel good, kind of regain your confidence and build yourself back up. It wasn't something that I wanted to create that was primarily for me to train out of. The goal was to have a few of those small locations, but to have other trainers, basically, that's yours. That was something that I wanted to do. At that time, it was more focused around glute training. A lot of times I go to the gym and I see a lot of women working out and they're working really hard. A lot of things are wrong. I like the drive, but if you get the right programming and show you the right things to do, then I felt like the results are going to be good. Because I've always worked with athletes and I've always had women message me like, I want to train with you, you don't train women, so on, or your stuff is too intense. But it meant a lot because I have a 10-year-old daughter and I know there's a point where she's going to want to train. That was something that I consider. As I mentioned, my mom, I always think about that. But at the location where I went to, it was a group class space for more of the seniors. And it was a time where I was thinking about my mom a lot. And initially it was good, but went through a lot with those people. Lease change, a lot of wrongdoings. They ran out on me. I want my deposit. They did a lot. I didn't want to give them too much of my energy. I kind of decided to go all in and open up a bigger spot, open up something that could be lasting and can actually build into something more. Now we're here. And I wanted to create a system. I wanted to create something focused more on longevity, more on movement health, specifically around their hip and spine. The stigma is glutes is for women, right? Whereas a lot of men deal with lower back pain, but a lot of guys, mostly because we don't train our glutes, they deal with those type of issues. So as we get older, our body change, we need to work on our hips, we will need to work on our spine and make sure the alignment is right. We're living in a time where we're on screens a lot, we're watching TVs, we're on phones. So the shoulders are rolled forward, the neck is forward. So a lot more people are gonna need that. And I always do things intentionally. So I think about my kid and I think about how much they're on screens and so on, and they will need it. And I already see things happening and things that I have to correct. So instead of just workouts, we build the Neptune system. It combines assessment, strength training, mobility work, and body composition to track so people can know where they are and their progress. I always say people don't know that they're in pain, so we just go about it. Hey, our bodies are amazing. God made us amazing in a way where our body is just going to adapt. So if you're in pain constantly, it's just going to adapt to that. And now it's going to turn off those pain receptors. So until you feel like what your body feels like without pain and feeling good, you just think it's normal, right? And a lot of the things that we do and experience, it's not normal. Our goal isn't just to help people look better for a few months, it's to help them to move better and stay strong for the rest of their lives.
What do you think people should be doing? You said that it's not normal for what we're doing right now, like obviously being on phones, the screens and whatnot. What in your mind do you think us as humans should be doing?
Well, as humans, we're mostly in that forward, backward, that frontal plane where we're forward, backward, right? That's front, sagittal plane, sorry. We're front, backward. Even when we lift, we're pushing on the bench. That's most of the lifts that most people like, right? We rarely move sideways. Runners deal with issues to their glute med, which is the lateral portion, because it's all running, and the more running you do, the more muscle breaks down. Phones, it's all front. right? So what I think people should be doing is trying to reverse out of those things. So you need to work your posterior chain, you need to work your back line, you need to work different types of fascia, you need to work in the transverse plane, meaning you need things where you're moving to the sides and so on. You need the movements that we stopped doing when we were kids, right? Those are the ones that are most important to us as we age, because we stopped doing all the things, right? As kids, we played sports. We stopped doing all of that as adults. We don't jump, we don't run, we don't crawl, we don't bend down. We just go to the gym, and for most people, they just want to lift. And you're just lifting something, putting it down, in which, yeah, you're building muscle, but you're not building muscle that's functional. And that's the reason why for a lot of men past I want to say that 35 age, it's like you go to the gym, you work out a lot, you lift a lot of weights, and then because they had an athletic background, they might play a sport. Someone might say, hey, let's go play basketball, for example, and they pop their Achilles, but your mind's telling you could still do it, but your body's not conditioned to do that. If we're not using our spine, it stiffens up. So a lot of people, their spine fuses and then they have back pains. And again, we just chalk it up as getting old. It's because we're not doing all the things that we used to do. Walk backwards. You need to squat and go all the way down. You look at a baby, you put a baby on the floor, and if they can stand up, and you see them stand up, or they squat all the way down, and they squat properly. Once a man, twice a child. I believe that applies in all our lives. And that's why we see all on Instagram, you might see like 7-year-old guys racing, doing 100-meter sprints, and they're fine. Our tendons it absorbs so much force, but we need to train these things in the right way. And those are things that we don't. We just work our muscles. There's so much more to it than just muscle building.
Now that you've opened a second location, what has been the biggest lesson from growing the business?
It's learning that community matters just as much as training. People come for results, but they stay because of the environment. When people feel supported, understood, and a part of something bigger than themselves, their consistency improves dramatically. System matters as well. Having something that you can track. As the business grows, you can't rely just on working harder. You need clear systems within the business and outside the business.
When people walk into your space, what do you ultimately hope they leave with beyond just a workout?
We want people to leave feeling stronger and healthier. It's obvious. But beyond that, I want people to leave with a new relationship with their bodies. Many people walk into a gym feeling intimidated, discouraged, or frustrated with their health. My goal is for them to leave feeling empowered, more confident in how their body moves and their functions. I want the mindset to be different, how they view health and fitness and wellness and athletics. Because a lot of people say things like, I'm not an athlete, to themselves, or they see somebody doing something and they say, I'm not an athlete, or I can't do that, that's too much, right? I want you to understand that you can be an athlete and not be athletic, and you can be athletic and not be an athlete. Athlete is just a title, right? How you train in your movements and so on, it can make you athletic. I've taken a lot of everyday people and turned them into athletes, and they get asked, like, what sport do you play, right? So it's how you do something. So if someone walks out feeling stronger, more capable, and believing that their body can improve at any age, then we've done our job. The goal of the Club Neptune isn't just fitness, it's to build stronger bodies, stronger habits, and a stronger community.
What's next?
Next is growing this community here in Edmonton, making it as big as possible, and putting on events and connecting with other wellness people like yourself, and just doing more. I want to build a community here, but also like help and focus and do things for the youth. It means a lot to me, especially for the Black community, for the the kids who are underprivileged and so on, because I believe a lot of these programs, they help. For me, they saved my life in a lot of ways and kept me out of trouble. And ultimately, we just want to grow the community within of athletes. Everyone feeling good, looking good, doing things, and yeah, I want people to know that that when they leave here, someone asks them, "Well, where do you work out?" I want it to be like, I train at the club, not I go to the gym or I do fitness. It's not something that we do. We live a healthy lifestyle. We do all of those things. So, yeah.
And where can all the people find you?
You can find us on Instagram at the Club Neptune, the Club Neptune. Instagram, you can find me personally at coach.neptune. You can check us out on the web, theclubneptune.com. Yeah, we're everywhere. You're gonna see us everywhere, and hope to see you here. So, yeah.